We've all watched the Chhaava movie and seen the gut-wrenching torture that Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj faced at the hands of Aurangzeb. But do you know that history is filled with many such brutal incidents? Brave men and women who refused to surrender, who endured inhuman torture but never bowed down. Today, we bring you the stories of these unsung heroes, their pain, their sacrifice, and the horrors they faced in their fight for justice. Number 1. Banda Singh Bahadur, 1672-1716, the lion who defeated the Mughals. Imagine watching your own son being murdered before your eyes, and yet, standing tall, refusing to surrender. This is exactly what happened to Banda Singh Bahadur. Captured by the Mughals after years of defiance, Banda Singh was paraded through Delhi in a cage, starved, and beaten mercilessly. His 4-year-old son was brought before him, killed, and his heart was stuffed into Banda's mouth. But even after witnessing this horror, he did not break. Furious, the Mughals slowly gouged out his eyes, cut off his limbs one by one, and eventually beheaded him. A warrior whose name still sends shivers down spines, Banda Singh Bahadur never surrendered his beliefs. Number 2. The women of the Indian National Army, 1940s, tortured for patriotism. While we often hear about the male freedom fighters, what about the women who fought with equal bravery? The women of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose's Rani Jhansi regiment were tortured in ways that history books rarely mention. They were beaten ruthlessly to reveal Netaji's plans. Some were forced into starvation, while others were electrocuted during interrogation. Many were shot dead or thrown into prison camps, where they suffered in silence. Their resistance shattered the myth that war was only for men. They proved that women were just as fierce in battle. Number 3. Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and Sukhdev, 1931, the fire that would not die. At just 23 years old, Bhagat Singh smiled in the face of death. But before his hanging, do you know the torture he endured? Locked in a dark cell, he was beaten daily by British officers. Denied proper food and water, he survived on scraps. British officers tried to break his spirit, but he sang patriotic songs instead. Even as he walked to the gallows, he shouted, "Inquilab Jindabad." Long live the revolution! His execution fueled a fire that never died. Number 4. Rani Lakshmibai's female soldiers, 1858, burned, beaten, and betrayed. We all know about Rani Lakshmibai, but what happened to the women warriors who fought beside her? The British captured many of these fearless warriors after the battle. Some were stripped, tied to horses, and dragged through the streets. Others were burned alive for refusing to surrender. These women died fighting, refusing to accept British rule. Their courage remains an untold chapter in history. Number 5. Matangini Hajra, 1872-1942, the bullet-ridden grandma. Imagine an old woman, standing against the might of the British, refusing to step back even as bullets pierce her body. That was Matangini Hajra. As she marched for independence, British soldiers fired at her. A bullet hit her, but she kept walking. A second bullet, she kept walking. A third bullet, she fell, holding the flag high, whispering, "Vande Mataram." Her last words still echo in the hearts of patriots today. Number 6. Veerapandya Kattabomman, 1760-1799, hanged for defiance. He was one of the first Indian kings to stand against the British. His reward? Brutal torture and a public hanging. He was chained, starved, and severely beaten for days. The British tried to break his will, but he refused to kneel. In 1799, he was hanged publicly, but his legend lived on. A Tamil warrior who inspired future generations to fight for freedom. These were not just stories, these were real people, with real pain, who faced horrors we cannot imagine. They fought, they suffered, and they died so that we could live free. It is our duty to remember them, to honor them, and to make sure their sacrifices are never forgotten.